So in 100 days, I spent... Hey everyone! Today's video is going to be a bit different from my usual data science and career related videos, but it's actually something that I've been wanting to film for a while. So these are one of my personal favorite videos to watch up on YouTube, as I find it so fascinating to see what people of different ages and locations spend their money on. So videos like this I find also give a really good insight into the cost of living in a particular city. For those of you that are new here, I am a 25-year-old data scientist based in Sydney, Australia. So if you are looking on moving to Sydney, or really just curious to see how much things in Sydney cost, then hopefully this video will help you out. I will also quickly touch on what I invest into the stock market near the end of this video, so please stay tuned for that. A quick disclaimer is that everything here will be in Australian dollars. I might pop some conversions up on the screen to the more common currencies. Yeah, as always, I'll leave timestamps down below on the key sections in case you want to skip through to different parts of the video. Let's get straight into it. At the point of me filming this video, Sydney has finally opened up after spending 106 days in lockdown because of COVID and the new Delta variant. So what this meant was that all non-essential retail, restaurants and pubs were closed, meaning that we couldn't meet up with friends for, brunch or dinner or go window shopping on the weekends, which were two things that I did super frequently prior to COVID. I must say that the one silver lining that has come out of lockdown is the reduction in my discretionary spendings, as I'm really just leaving home a lot less. Given that we are now working from home, I've also cut down on my commute to the office, which was normally around $50 a week via public transport. Either way, I thought that now would be a really good time to do a deep dive into my own credit card statements, as it's something that I've never really actively done before, and see exactly how much I spent over the last 100-ish days. I thought that this would be pretty interesting for myself to document and also share with you on the internet, and then I guess compare it with my post-lockdown spending behavior. Let's see how it really goes. One thing that I've noticed, having watched so many of these what I spend in a week videos, is that most of them don't actually cover off bills or housing related expenses, and they mainly just focus on discretionary spendings, which I feel like is not a very typical representation of your spendings. In today's video, I want to be fully transparent and show you everything that leaves my bank account over the last 100 days. So for some background about myself, I've never been a big spender, and I have always been pretty good at managing my money. I don't actively track my finances, but I do have a rough estimate of around how much I spend every single month. So rent in Sydney is quite expensive if you haven't already heard. So to live alone, you'd be looking at around 400 to 450 AUD a week for an average 1-bed, 1-bath unit. So of course this figure is going to change depending on, if you're living with roommates and how close to the city you are. I would say that the average salary here in Sydney, Australia after tax comes to around $1,000, so rent would just be under half of that. And of course this figure would come down if you're sharing with your roommates to maybe around $250 a week at the very minimum. Either way, I'm really grateful to still be able to live with my parents at home to help me save a little bit of extra cash. I do help out with things around the home wherever I can, and I feel like that is definitely cheaper than me paying rent. And I think this is also a relatively common thing here in Sydney and in my friends, whereas compared to America, where everyone generally moves out for college when they're 18. Okay, I'm gonna start off with my fixed expenses, which, as the name suggests, remain constant every single month. So I've got my notes here up on my laptop, so I might just refer here every so often. I always calculate how much my fixed expenses come to, just so I can budget my salary into my savings versus my discretionary spendings after this. I'll also keep these figures monthly, as that's normally the schedule that I pay them off at, and later I'm going to multiply them by 3 to show you exactly how much I've spent over the last 100 days in lockdown. So starting off with the largest expense here, I do have an investment property here in Sydney, and I spend around $1,600 a month on my housing related expenses, which cover off my mortgage, my utilities, my council fees, as well as my strata. In Australia, we also have to pay for our own health insurance, which essentially subsidizes visits to the hospital and also gives you discounts on your dentist and your optometrist visits. And mine comes to $127 a month. So next, moving on to phones. So I've had my iPhone XR for the last 3 years already, and it's still working pretty well. So my phone itself has already been paid off, and I'm really just paying for mobile data right now. So I'm currently on a Kogan plan, a prepaid Kogan plan, which was $135, and you get 80 gigabytes of data for the year. So this averages to around $11 a month. I'm not the biggest user of my phone on my commute to the office. The most I'll do is, listen to a podcast or listen to some music on Spotify. And given that the office and my home environment both have Wi-Fi, I don't really feel the need to pay a lot more for much more data. Okay, let's cover off subscriptions next. So I keep it pretty simple. I've only got 3 subscriptions that I'm paying for. Spotify, Netflix, and Calm, which is my meditation app. And in total, these come to around $15 a month. Now you might be thinking, how come I'm only paying $15 a month for all these 3 services? So I am on a Spotify family account with 5 other people, and that comes to around $36 a year for myself, or just $3 a month. I'm also sharing a Netflix account with 3 other people, so that's $5 a month. And regarding Calm, I was actually on a Calm free trial, and then I forgot to cancel after the 1 year was over, so I got charged $80 for a year, which is effectively $6.70 a month. So really, I think subscriptions, I find these 3 services really worth it, as I use Spotify and Netflix almost every single day. Another fixed expense that I think quite a few people spend their money on is a gym membership. So this is personally something that I've never actually paid for, as my preferred method of exercise is running. Over the past several years, I have paid for a couple of workout classes here and there, whether it's Barry's Bootcamp, ClassPass, or even F45, but I've really never committed to something and paid for an ongoing membership. So realistically, if you had a gym membership, you'd be looking at somewhere between $50 to $100 a month. And the last fixed expense that I want to cover off is student loans. So now these would normally come out of your paycheck every month, depending on how much you earn. I'm pretty grateful that I worked a few part-time jobs throughout university and also received a couple of scholarships that allowed me to be able to pay off my student loans early, and also with a discount at the time. I think it was either 5 or 10% if you paid it off by a certain date. So overall, all my fixed expenses every single month add up to around $1,755. Now keep in mind the majority of this is for my investment property. So over the last 3 months, this comes to around $5,300. Now moving on to my actual discretionary spending. Keep in mind that Sydney was in lockdown for this entire period, meaning that all non-essential retail, restaurants and pubs were all closed. I'm going to break it down into the key categories that I was spending my money on, and again leave timestamps below. So the first category that I want to cover off is groceries. You might think, you live at your parents' home, why do you need to pay for groceries? So I want to help out here and there wherever I can, because they don't charge me rent or anything, so groceries is really the best I can help contribute. So across the 100 days in lockdown, I've made a fair few trips to the grocery store just to pick up essentials like fruit, veggies, milk, and snacks like, chips, dark chocolate, ice cream, and so on. So in total, my groceries came to $235. So usually I pay for these with gift cards that I buy on cashrewards.com, which is essentially like a website that lets you buy stuff and then get immediate cash back. So with gift cards, there is a 5% discount, meaning that for every $100 gift card you buy, you get $5 back. So I'll leave the link to Cash Rewards down below. I think this is such a game changer, and is honestly something that I wish I had gotten into earlier when I was still at uni, and it really can save you so much money without you even knowing it. So highly recommend you checking out Cash Rewards. The next section deserves a category of its own, and that's coffee. So if you know me, you know that I love coffee, and I probably drink more coffee than I should. Anyway, this new cafe opened up just a couple of minutes away from my parents' home, which has been really convenient for me to go for a stroll, pick up a coffee, and also support a small business during lockdown. My go-to is a soy latte, and these generally come to around $4.50 AUD per takeaway cup, as soy milk costs an additional 50 cents. Sometimes I'll go for a piccolo, but really, depending on my mood, it'll either be $3.50 or $4.50. I also quite like this cafe's coffee beans, and I picked up 2 bags during lockdown to try and make some cold brew which is something that I've been trying to get into a bit more. So over the 100 days of lockdown, I ended up buying 5 takeaway coffees and 2 bags of coffee beans, which each come with 1 additional cup of coffee for free. And that came to around $80. Okay, the next category is gifts and donations. So my friends and I often do annual gift giving for, birthdays and celebrations. It was one of my ex-colleagues' birthdays in early September, and she's based over in Melbourne. So I decided to send her over a T2 gift set, and that cost me $61. I also bought a candle for my friend's birthday, who I'm yet to actually see, and that cost me $35. I have also been playing weekly online trivia every Friday night during lockdown. I was doing a lot of trivia in pubs when they were open, but now over lockdown, everything's moved virtual, so I did donate $50 to the host of this trivia event, as I just really like the way he organizes his trivia. Donations are also tax deductible here in Australia, which means it can actually help lower your taxable income, which is always a good thing. So the last category is my more miscellaneous items, which include clothing, hair and beauty, and also healthcare. So COVID has meant everyone is working from home a lot more in loungewear, which is actually something that I didn't really own much of, as I used to only ever buy business formal and business casual wear for the office. So lockdown gave me the excuse to do some more online shopping. So a couple months ago, I made a $96 order off YesStyle, where I ended up getting 3 pairs of sweatpants and 2 cute t-shirts. I always stack these with the discount code, so I'm never really paying full price. I also had a mini existential crisis and wanted to dye my own hair, if you can tell. I bought $10 worth of hair bleach from Priceline, which is our local chemist or your classic Walgreens. I also bought hair dye and developer off this hair and beauty website, which came to $52. I also stocked up on some multivitamins, some vitamin D tablets, as well as fish oil tablets when they were on sale in bulk, and that came to $55 in total. So in total, my discretionary spendings have come to $650 over the last 100 days, which, hey, I think is pretty good. So now with whatever is left over, I try and invest as much as I can into the stock markets, and only leave a small portion aside for any impromptu online shopping, any friends' weddings, or any larger ticket item purchases. I've been burned multiple times in the past with buying some pretty bad penny stocks and have lost money on that, so I've learnt my lesson and I'm only really buying into index funds now. So over the last 100 days, I bought 2 times into both the Australian index as well as the more global index, and that came to a total of $16,000 approximately. Let me know if you would like to see more videos where I talk about my investment portfolio and any personal finance tips. Okay, so the moment you've all been waiting for. Over the past 100 days in lockdown, I spent $5,300 on my fixed expenses, $650 on my discretionary expenses, and $16,000 into my investments, coming to a total of $22,000. Now, although this figure might seem really high to some of you, investments are really just like my typical savings account, where my money will grow over time. Anyway, I hope that this video was insightful and interesting to watch. For those of you who are looking on moving to Sydney, I hope this video has given you a bit of a guide as to how much things cost here in Sydney, bills, housing prices, food, coffee, all that. Yeah, please let me know down in the comments below if you liked these personal finance videos and you want to see more of them. I'm really excited to share some of my personal tips with you, as I have learned so many things along the way and made many mistakes that I would just love to let you know so you can avoid those same mistakes. As always, please like and subscribe, as it really means a lot and helps me grow my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!